Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another LabCoatAgents webinar. I'm Nick Baldwin, LCA co-founder, and we have an awesome guy today, Tyler Shields. He's got a big team in Colorado and in the Denver area, and Tyler's team did over 300 transactions in 2020, and it was over 3 million in gross commission, and $1 million of that came from internet leads. But Tyler, internet leads suck. Yep. So today we're going to talk to Tyler. Oh, thank you for being here, Tyler.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
His team Relevate, $1 million in gross commission, about 100 internet leads closed. And we're going to talk to him about, where his leads are coming from, what his processes are, how he follows up. And we're going to get to the nitty gritty. So thanks for being here, Tyler. And if I left anything out, feel free.
No, that's great. Yeah. Thanks for introducing me. I just like to mention, I run what's called an expansion team. So we actually have a team in Denver and a team in Phoenix. So we've spent a good amount of time making sure that our systems work outside of just our market, outside of just the niche of the United States that we live in. We need to create systems at scale. So I know that this can work wherever you guys are. So
that's a really good little nugget there. I don't want to talk about me, but I'll talk about me for 1 second. I had a team in Montclair, New Jersey, like right outside of Midtown Manhattan. And then I moved to Michigan, had a team here, right? Price points are like night and day, right? And my systems worked in both places. That's the beauty of it.
Yep. So let me give you guys a little bit more of my background so you kind of know who I am, and then I'll let you guys know a little bit more of what we're talking through. So Nick already kind of set up the size of the team, but my background actually, before I became a real estate agent, I sold marketing for Zillow. So I was at Zillow, actually technically.
Who let this guy on?
Come on. I'm infiltrating this is how they do it, right? So I actually sold marketing for Trulia, and then Zillow bought Trulia. And so then I was selling marketing for Zillow. But the reality is I spend enough time telling real estate agents, spend this money, convert the leads this way, get this return on investment, reinvest the money, keep building, that eventually I was like, man, I could do this. Like I wanted to buy the product I was selling, right? I sold myself on it. So I decided after, it was only a year at Zillow that I decided, all right, I want to jump in. I want to do this on my own. So that was in 2016 is when I went full-time in real estate and started doing it, started building a team. So, I knew with my background at Zillow that internet leads was going to be one of the pillars of my business, right? But what I want to break down for you guys is a little bit of like, why internet leads? Because what I realized kind of hitting the market, I lived in a bubble of selling leads to agents at Zillow. So I just assumed everyone loved internet leads, right? Well, the reality is that's not true. And in fact, like there's a lot of people that like internet leads are like cheating or something. It's like not real estate business. So I want to explain to you guys why internet leads, because for me, if you really get beyond just buying some leads online, what you're doing when you're generating the lead online is you are building some brand about yourself or some idea, you're capturing contact information, and then you're getting a hold of that person, staying in touch and adding value until they transact, right? So you're in some way getting someone to reach out to you because of who you are and because of what you can do for them, capturing their contact information, getting in touch, following up, adding value until they're ready to transact. Well, the reality is that's every form of lead generation. That's like with your sphere, with knocking on doors, with sending out farming mailers, like it's all the same, right? The internet is just a different method to deliver that, right? And so it really dawned on me like, this is not that different than farming. Like I'm making people know who I am with my unique value proposition. I'm somehow finding a method to capture their contact information, and then I'm following up with them, adding value until they're ready. And so the internet was just a easy way to distribute that at a high level. So that's kind of why I started there. And so I want to start with that because I think there's been a lot of kind of faux pas throughout the years of internet leads and what they are and whatever. And I'm just here to tell you, it is a legitimate way to grow your business, legitimate way to to build and make the money you want to make. I'm living proof of that.
Well, I think, Tyler, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know a single thriving business today that doesn't make money through the internet. But do you think that people feel like internet leads are not a consistent way to make a living because maybe they're overspending and they're not converting, or they're investing too much in the leads and not the nurture and the follow-up systems? Do you think that's part of it?
At my core, yes, I think it's all those things. And I believe people feel like you're outsourcing your lead generation and you're not allowed to do that. Like, I feel like people are thinking like, well, I'm not lead generating, I'm just paying for leads, right? That's like the feedback I've gotten throughout the years.
That's interesting. Okay.
It's like
I've never heard that angle. Yeah.
It's not sustainable. It'll go away at some point. Or like, well, you're not in control. Like, you're outsourcing your lead gen. And so like you're, so you don't really have like a real business. Like, you don't have any lead gen, they lead gen for you. Right. And like, I get it. There are ways to have less control in internet lead gen and ways to have more control. And you should definitely be thinking about that. But yeah, over the years, I've just realized, or another big pushback I've had is, well, just wait 3 years or whatever. Like this, you're not going to get the same ROI 3 years from now. I'm like, okay, I'll do something different 3 years from now. But for right now, as long as I'm getting the ROI, I'm gonna ride the wave until and then I'll jump to something else. And we've moved through 10 different internet lead gen sources throughout the years as we've like measured the ROI. If ROI starts to drop, then we move on to something else and we just keep cycling through, right? There's a lot of options. You should always be watching your numbers and making sure that the return on investment makes sense, and then ride it as long as it does. And when it stops, go somewhere else, have contingency and backup plans. So
I also think that, first of all, there's always going to be the internet. It's just going to be a matter of where the leads come from on the internet, right? So right now, Zillow, Realtor.com, Facebook, Google, that could change. And then you just go there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had a lot of that too. Like, well, what happens if Facebook disappears or Facebook's irrelevant, like, like 2 years from now or whatever? I'm like, great, then it's going to be Snapchat, or it's going to be some new platform we don't even know about yet, or it's going to be, Clubhouse, or, whatever it is, right? Like there's always some new attention. It's just the way that you do business is you get attention drawn to yourself somehow, wherever eyeballs are, and then you have a value proposition so that you can capture in a way to capture contact information, and then you just stay in touch and add value until you can turn that into business. So this is really high level, but I just wanted to have that conversation. So yeah. I presume if you guys are here, you believe internet lead gen is a legitimate source of business. So we can dive into exactly what it looks like, but wanted to talk about that first. So So what I wanted to start with is, not just Facebook leads, but I wanted to break down 4 different types of internet leads, where they come from, kind of how you would get those leads, and then the various approaches. After I go through the different types of internet leads and kind of how we source them, where the buyer's mindset is, then I'll break down how you would approach those various types of leads, right? So I'm going to start. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to kind of start at what I would say is the bottom of the funnel, someone that is the closest to transacting, and then work backwards. So work up the funnel. So what I mean by bottom of the funnel is these people are the closest to actually transacting. So they're going to be the most ready to go. It's also going to be the most expensive because they're the closest to the bottom of the funnel. And it's going to be the most competitive because if they're at the bottom of the funnel, they're probably already talking with other real estate agents as well, right? So the big things that you're thinking about at this stage of the process is I need to convert these at an extremely high level, get a hold of them extremely quickly, and have good objection handling for why you would work with me versus another agent so that you can get this to the finish line, right? So examples of portal leads would be, Zillow, Realtor.com, homes.com, something like that, right? These are portal leads, right?
Let's be real though, Tyler. Homes.com. No, I'm just kidding. We love homes.com. We have a great partnership with them. But
you can buy a lot of leads through
homes.com. There are portals that do have better quality leads.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct. So and the reality, like in my opinion, Zillow has 1 million eyeballs, right? Like they have 150 million eyeballs, unique visitors, whatever, right? Zillow is not concerned about selling you the top of the funnel eyeballs. They have too many of those people. They understand that. So they can they can actually be concerned about letting like those leads become better quality on their site. And then they're going to sell you lower leads down here that are higher quality that have been on their site for a while. So the way a portal lead works is I'm going to go as a consumer, I'm going to go to Zillow, I'm going to go to Realtor, I'm going to go to homes.com, I'm going to go to one of these things, and then I'm going to start my search. But there's no forced registration. It doesn't make me become a lead to start looking on the site. So I can look and keep looking as long as I want to without becoming a lead. So what tends to happen is the portal site itself is going to nurture me oftentimes for 2 to 3 months before I become a lead. And so that's why by the time I actually submit a lead, I'm going to be ready to go, right? So that's how that portal site works. So you can buy leads through all these sites. You're going to pay a pretty penny. And it is my opinion that you're going to have to convert them at a really high level. You're going to have to be really aggressive. You're going to be competing with other agents. And you need to watch your ROI really, really closely, because all these portal sites love to double your cost at the end of your term, right? So you're locked into whatever they want to charge you, right? So that's going to be a portal lead. Now, I'll get to scripts on these later, but that's kind of what that looks like, right? So the next stage up the funnel, in my opinion, would be like a Google AdWord type lead or a higher intent buyer lead. Okay.
Right. So somebody asked in the chat, what about Boomtown? So Boomtown generates leads for you through Google. And so that's where we're going, Tony.
Yep. Yeah. I'm actually going to mention Boomtown specifically. That'll be actually my next one that I'll mention. Although Boomtown does do some Google AdWord ones, but Google Ad high intent. So what I mean by that is, this is someone who didn't just come across a Facebook ad and click on something and now all of a sudden they're on their page. This is someone that went to the internet to find properties for sale. Like they went to go say, I want to find a property for sale in this area. And what I mean by high intent is, think about it this way. The more specific someone is on their location, the higher intent they tend to be. So just think about how home buyers work, right? I may start off and go, I want to live in Denver. Okay. But then I'll go, you know what? I want to live in South Denver. I want to live like south of I-70, right? And then I might go, no, I want to live in Littleton. And then when it actually came time for me to buy, not my current house, but my past house, I had narrowed it down all the way to, I want to live in one of these 3 neighborhoods, right? So if I'm a buyer and I'm searching for homes in Denver, Colorado, I have less intent and I'm higher up in the funnel than if I say, I want to find homes in this specific neighborhood, right? And so when I get ads from Facebook or Google AdWord or buyers that are that high intent, now they're not a portal lead, they're not quite that good, but they do have high intent of what they're looking for. It's likely they may have already interacted with an agent if they're this far down the funnel. So I still got to be cognizant of what's my value proposition versus other agents. Why would they go with me? And I got to jump on them quickly and find a way for them to stay with me, or else they're going to go to some other site.
Tyler, well, why wouldn't those people just go right to realtor.com? Like, why are they Googling? They want to just get really specific, or what?
Yeah, that's a great question. So exactly what you're saying. Some of these people kind of doubt the information that they've gotten. Now, I will say people love looking at Zillow, but when they go to Zillow, sometimes they're doubting, am I getting all of my options here? The other thing would be they want curated results. Like they don't want to go have to figure out how to curate it themselves. They want curated results. And so the example I like to give is Netflix. Like imagine, so we all understand Netflix, my Netflix looks different than Nick's, looks different than everybody else's. Like it suggests me shows that I should watch based on everything else I've seen. Now imagine Netflix is just a folder with a bunch of movies and shows listed alphabetically. That would be pretty annoying. Like I could go find some shows, but like I want it curated for me. I want to actually see what's relevant to me. I don't have to sift through all this stuff, right? And so that's what searching specifically in an area, in my opinion, could accomplish for somebody. So
well, I want to just say that I have seen Travis's Netflix, and it's very similar to mine. Say Yes to the Dress.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. 90 Day Fiance. Anyway.
Love it. Exactly. No, I'm just watching that old samurai show right now on Netflix.
Which one? What's it called?
There's some like The Age of the Samurai.
Oh, I saw it. It's a documentary.
Yes. It's
all right, cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah, there you go.
Focus, okay. Tyler, focus.
Sorry. All right. So, all right, Google AdWord high intent, right? So the next one I'm going to mention, so that's at that phase of the process, right? The next one up the funnel is what I would call like a Facebook type lead, like generated from a Facebook ad, but they are also on your website. So this would be an example of a Boomtown style lead, because what Boomtown is doing is they're running ads on Google, they're running ads on Facebook, but they're not capturing their information on those sites. They're running those ads to get them to your website. And then Boomtown has what we call a forced registration. So you can kind of set up it kind of how you want to, but for the most part, it's after they've looked at the fourth photo, they're forced to register, put in their contact information, become a lead so they can look at more properties for sale, right? And so in my opinion, this is slightly better, slightly higher quality lead than just a straight Facebook lead, because not only do you have their contact information, but they went from the ad to your website and then they didn't leave. They looked at multiple photos, they didn't leave. They were asked to register and they didn't leave, right? So there's multiple speed bumps throughout the process they had to go through, and they still filled it out. And they're already on your website. They're already registered. So like, there's no, let me try to get you into a door you've never been in before, so that I can try to interact with you. They're already on your website. So just send them relevant stuff and they'll go back, right?
Well, also, Tyler, unlike Facebook lead ads, they're willingly putting their information in.
Yes.
Right? They're not, because Facebook will populate it for them. Whereas with Google, they see the forced reg and they're typing it in, themselves.
Definitely. And
that's essentially that's what Realtor.com and Zillow are.
Yep. Yeah. The only difference, right? Like, so a forced registration lead, what it's going to say is put in your information so you can keep looking at photos. Oh, and by the way, an agent might contact you, right? A Realtor and a Zillow is going to say, put in your information to be contacted by an agent, right? And so that's why that intent is higher. They know what's about to happen for the most part. So the forced registration, you're still getting someone who may or may not be expecting to hear from an agent, but they've gone through enough of the speed bumps that that real estate is top of their mind. They've gone through all these bumps, right? So, so the last one I want to talk about, the highest part of the funnel, is what I would call just a straight lead. You have their contact information, but they're not on your website. They haven't registered anywhere else. Probably the highest end of the funnel is what we would call just a straight Facebook lead ad that you might run on Facebook. They see some pretty photos and you promise them you can show them more photos or you can help them with that house. They click on the ad, the Facebook lead gen form pops up, it auto-fills their information. All they got to do is click next and affirm, yes, I'm good with this privacy policy. And then boom, they become a lead to you, right? So there's still some speed bumps, right? Like they click on the ad, they see the lead form, they could go away, right? Or they might see the ad, but never click on it, right? And so there's still some speed bumps. Like I think roughly, I don't know what you see, Nick, but roughly like 10% of the people that see it probably click on it. And then maybe another 10% or 20% that click on it actually become a lead.
So here's, I have some Facebook ads open. So like, here's, okay. So for $50, 2,000 impressions, 152 clicks and 31 leads.
Yep. So you had a 20% ratio from click to registration, a little bit less than 10% from registration from impression to registration. So, So that's about what you'll see, right? So those are your various types of leads that you guys are going to be able to create or buy, right? So when it comes to Facebook lead ads, you guys have a lot of options. There's just look in your friend requests. There's probably 27 people trying to sell you Facebook leads because I know I get like 5 friend requests a day from people that generate leads for agents on Facebook. So if you want to figure out someone to help you generate Facebook leads, just accept all your friend requests. You'll get a message at some point, I promise. So that's how it works. But there's a million people out there that can do this for you, or you can do it yourself. You can go figure it out. You can go watch something, go watch a YouTube video. Like there's ways that you can figure this out and master this on your own. There's systems and CRMs that make this easier for you. But the reality is you can create some Facebook leads on your own, or you can buy Facebook leads or pay someone else to create those leads for you, right? So that's going to be that top, how can I get those Facebook leads, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you're thinking about Facebook leads, the main thing I want to kind of talk to you guys about when it's talking about scripting in your process is understand where they're at in the sales process. A Facebook lead, and by the way, if you want to figure out how you should approach any lead or any client, you just need to think empathetically. So put yourself in their shoes. So let's put ourselves in a Facebook lead shoes. They were scrolling down Facebook. They didn't go to Facebook to look for homes for sale. They went to Facebook to be entertained or just see what was going on. And they saw,
or to get into an argument with somebody.
Exactly. Yep. And so they saw these pretty photos. They clicked on it. Boom! All of a sudden, they're on your website, and you're trying to call them, asking them, "Hey, what? I see you're looking to buy a house, right?" So understand that your approach with Facebook leads needs to be gentle, right? The very beginning stages of the process. You need to take more of a customer service approach. Hey, I saw you're looking at some homes. How can I help you, right? Have you ever thought about buying a house, right? Like you need to help kind of live up in the, have you thought about buying a house? Is that a dream of yours? Is that a goal of yours? Like helping them discover that real estate is possible. You need to help them move into the real estate search process. They're not even there yet. They're just looking at pretty houses, right? So that's what you have to understand. That's what that conversation looks like. I'm not jumping straight to, hey, when would you like to see it? When are you buying a house? I'm helping move them into the search process.
I mean, that's also where a lot of agents, that's where you hear agents saying that Facebook leads suck. And it's because, listen, not all of them are good, right? Not all Zillow or Realtor.com leads are good. They're just approaching it all wrong. They're used to a Realtor.com or Zillow lead requesting to see a property and wanting to get in there and move within 3 months. Whereas with Facebook, they're typically, if you called a Facebook lead and said, "Hey, Tyler, it's Nick with Keller Williams. When did you want to see that property?" They'd be like, "What?
What are you talking about?" Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But if you said, "Hey, Tyler, this is Nick with Keller Williams, and we had some homes for sale on Facebook, and you looked at some of them. Hey, I was just curious. I know you might not be looking to make a move right now, but what were your thoughts on the house? What'd you think about it?"
Yeah.
That's a very passive approach, and it's conversational.
Totally. Yeah. And I'll break down numbers at each layer of the process, but I would say a Facebook lead is probably around 1% conversion. And you might be able to go, you might be as low as like a 0.5% conversion. You might be as high as like a 2% conversion. Just depends how much time and energy you're really willing to put into it. Now, because you can get these relatively cheap, anywhere from like maybe, $5 to $15 or kind of whatever you're running and whatever company you're paying, like those numbers make sense. Like I buy 100 leads at $10 a lead. I'm paying $1,000 for a closing that I'm going to make $10,000 on, right? Like the numbers make sense. But the reason everyone says Facebook leads suck, to your point, Nick, is because it's really easy to think about the 99% that aren't converting,
right,
instead of the 1% that is. Right.
Well, that's where that's where we tend to focus, by default. Yeah. And I always say to agents, I'm like, don't worry about those 99, because the great thing about Facebook leads is they're not expensive.
Yeah.
And, maybe you'll spend $100 as opposed to like 500 or 600 on a Zillow, which could potentially hurt you over time, so it's a lot different.
Yeah, we like to call, to set our agents' expectations properly, we like to call Facebook leads cool calling. It's not cold calling. It's cool calling. All right.
It's cool to call, or it's cool because they're not cold.
Yeah. They're not cold. They're not quite warm. They're, a lot of people like to use the term warm leads or hot leads. We like to just cell phone that these types of leads are probably cool. They're not cold. They're cool, but you don't have to worry about do not call because they registered, right? So if they registered, you don't have to worry about the do not call list. And so if all you're doing is paying some money so you don't have to worry about getting fined for calling someone that's on the do not call list, it's probably worth your time. And most people, even me as a sales professional, like I feel better, even if I know they're not expecting my call, I feel better having an excuse to call. I can call them and say, "Hey, you were looking at some homes on my site. I have an excuse. I have a reason to call," versus just trying to cold call, right? So that's why we like this versus just traditional cold call, right? So that's what that looks like, right? About 1%, that's what you're going to be looking at. That's what you can do there. So let's move things up the funnel a little bit. So a lead on your site. Now, the conversation's not too much different. but they're a little bit higher intent. They're on your website, right? So I like to take it a step further. Instead of just saying, you looked at some homes that I posted, I like to take a little step further and go, I see you're on our website. I see you're looking at homes on our site. How can I help? I want to kind of onboard them to our website because I really don't want them to leave, because I know that our website, like when you have a website built for you through Boomtown or most of these other CRMs, basically every call to action on the website leads back to you. Just like every call to action on Zillow ultimately comes a lead that gets sold to you, right? But if they're on your site, every call to action, it goes back to you. So if I can just keep them on the website, I know that eventually they'll become a lead back to me. So if they're already on my site, I'm still going to talk to them about I know they're still very beginning stages of the process. I'm not going to be too aggressive. I'm going to spend a lot of time just, if all I do on that first call is just convince them to keep looking at the homes on my website, mission accomplished. Because I can follow up a week later or 2 weeks later and dig deeper. But I don't want to scare them away from the website. So that's a lot of what I'll do with those types of leads. Now, we definitely have agents converting these at 2%. You can definitely convert these at a higher rate because you can take that customer service approach and then your money is in the follow-up, right? The fortune's going to be in staying in touch, creating a good curated search. Again, if they're on your website, you can build a search for them. You can create their Netflix for them. You can create their curated search that delivers to them automatically. That imagine for me to want to look at homes that I like, I can either go into my browser, go search Zillow, go curate my search and see what's available, and then do that every time I want to see what's available, or I can just click on the link you emailed me and see what's there. That's easier, right? And so that's what we're trying to do, is create that curated search where they're on the site, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. Like, and that's, I don't want to jump the gun and because I'm not sure what you're going to go to next, but, take that into account, like curate a search for people, on Facebook. You could, right? Did you want to talk about those, or am I jumping the gun?
No, you're great. No, that's perfect.
Oh, okay. So, powerful types of ads, right? So someone was asking on the Zoom chat, do you have a good follow-up plan? Well, follow-up plan to attract listings. Follow-up plan for attract listing ads. Okay. Well, let's go back to first, before we answer that, curated searches, right? Like what you create a lot of ads that are leading to searches that, like, hey, click here for homes for sale in this area, or click here for condos, or click here for homes that have open houses this weekend, or whatever it is, right? You're creating that experience for them. Can we talk a little around like why that is effective?
Yeah, so I'm leaning into my natural strength, which is, I love vision and I love being a visionary and I love painting the picture of where you can go. And so as real estate agents, we need to be visionaries for our clients sometimes. Sometimes we need to help them dream, help them understand what's possible. So when you curate a search for them, so let's say it's mountain properties with views under $400,000, right? I've just painted a picture of what's possible, a lifestyle of living in the mountains. I got my views. I'm getting out of the, the rat race, and I can do it for under $400,000, right? That's painting a picture for somebody. So not just creating a search that I know a lot of people are going to want, so they're going to want to click on it, but also in a Facebook style environment where I'm not necessarily looking for homes, I need something to be painted for me that makes me want to jump into the home search, right? So when I see that, I go, man, if that's possible, maybe I should think about buying a house, right? And so that's really what we want to do. We want to paint these pictures, right? So it may be brand new homes under 500,000. It may be in the summertime, we'll run homes with a pool, right? Or like escape the heat, right? We love to create an ad that's basically click here to see all homes that match this certain criteria, because they're not getting that on Zillow. Like they're not getting that other places. Like I'm delivering something straight to them they may not be able to get elsewhere. And something you and I have talked about a lot, Nick, is also running ads like recent price drops, right? So like, what if I run, hey, this is an ad, exactly what most buyers are looking for in a popular area, but all of these homes had a price drop in the last 7 days. Just do the work to curate the search for them so they would go to your site versus Zillow. That's quite frankly the unique value proposition you're offering for why they would click on your ad versus going to Zillow. Because I'm giving you something already curated that you're going to have to, maybe you can figure out how to do that on your own on Zillow. Maybe you can't, right?
Right.
So.
No, that's awesome. Let me see if there's a question here. Okay. So Greg is asking on Zoom, he's doing Google pay-per-click. They're getting about 100 registrations, about $10 per registration. I'm guessing we're about 1% turn into a closing. Wondered what Tyler's finding to be the case on his end there.
Yep. I think that 1% is a fine, scalable, good conversion rate for those leads, right? So I'll pause and say, if 1% is what you're getting at $10 a registration, then that ROI is there. Like you can scale that. And we'll talk about scaling in a second. I think that's completely fine. Now, I believe that Google pay-per-click is a similar conversion rate to like a lead that's on your site. So that you could definitely get 2% conversion, or even maybe even a little bit higher with those types of leads. You could definitely get that type of lead, but it takes high intent process of staying in touch and knowing exactly what you're saying up front, but really good long-term follow-up. And so, a lot of times when I see an agent or a team getting a lower conversion rate on Facebook or Google AdWords leads, it's probably because you are only closing the people that have shorter timelines, and you're bad at staying in touch with the people that have longer timelines, right? We've closed multiple buyer leads this year that registered 2+ years ago, right? And so we could have just been bad about long-term follow-up and never gotten those closings and would have been closer to 1%, but our long-term follow-up process is what's turned that in. I would also ask, how long have you been doing PPC for? Because if you've been doing it for 6 months, 9 months, a year, and you're at a 1% conversion, maybe just wait a little bit longer. Like you haven't had the long-term ones close yet, and you might see that conversion go up over time. But I think 2% or more is possible, but that's really, really hard unless you're having newer agents that don't have much else going on, focusing on those leads and not giving them too many. Like I wouldn't give them more than 60 a month or something like that, new registrations a month. Like outside of that, it's going to get a little too much for them to be able to convert at a 2% or higher.
It's interesting. So, when you hear 1%, you instantly are like, what? That's terrible, right? But think about it. It's, factor in, the cost, right? So Tyler, how many agents do you have on your team, Tyler?
We have 13 agents.
Okay. So you have 13 agents, right? The amount of lead generation you do for your team is not going to be the same as someone who has like 2 or 3 agents. So what do you look for in terms of ROI, and what should we essentially look for, right? Like, because at 1%, it doesn't sound like it's something that you'd want to get into, right?
Yep. So you asked the right question, right? Like, we don't want to ask about percentage conversion. We want to ask about return on investment, right? Because it's very possible for you to convert Zillow opportunities at 10% and make a 1.5x ROI. Like it's possible, right? So that conversion rate is not impressive when considering the return on your investment. So First of all, just acknowledging you're asking the right question, ROI. Now, Millionaire Real Estate Agent, like the real estate agent Bible of how to run business, because they surveyed hundreds of different agents, essentially offers up that a 10 times ROI should be your aspirational ROI. Why? Because the book says if you look at a standard real estate agent or real estate business budget, marketing and lead gen should be 10% of your overall gross revenue. So if that's the case, then I should get $10 for every $1 I spend on my marketing, right? So aspirationally, we're always kind of looking for that 10 times ROI as like, this is great, this is working very well, this is scaling. But we are fine with a 5 times ROI. We're fine moving forward with a 5 times ROI. If we're getting much less than a 5 times ROI, then I'm nervous it's not going to work. Well, because I run a team and I know that half my money is going out the door to the agent right from the get-go who's converting the lead for me. So if I had a 2 times ROI, I'm making no money. I'm breaking even. Like I'm losing money because I have to pay the agent and I have to pay the lead, right? 3 times ROI is maybe just breaking even with paying the leads and paying the agent. So 5 times ROI is kind of that minimum. I'm willing to keep doing this as long as it's here. 10 times is what we're aspirationally shooting for when we're building our system around something.
Got it. That's awesome. Yeah, because, A lot of agents see that conversion rate and they're like, that's garbage. So quick question. With Facebook being so inexpensive, right? Like you could, spend $100 and generate 50 leads, right? Would you say that, like, let's say you spend $100 a month on Facebook and you generate 50 leads a month, over the course of a year, you closed, you spent $1,200 and you closed an extra deal a month for a year, right? In some markets that would be, $150,000, $200,000 GCI or more. Would you still say that even with that type of spend, and the return that it's about ROI? Because at that point, it's like, $100 could turn to 10 grand, right? Depending on, so like, is it really about ROI at that point?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think ROI is the question I ask myself when I'm talking about scaling something.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's honestly, I'm glad you asked that question because it's hard for me to ever separate scale from the conversation because of the scale our team is at. I don't care if something can get me 10 leads. I want it to get me 100 or 1,000 or whatever. I want to know it can do that. So in that regard, I need to care about ROI. But the reality is, for most agents, if you're looking for a way to just go add 5 deals or a way to just go add 10 deals, like then Facebook is going to make all the sense in the world. And there's going to be ways that you can make it work. Even in that scenario you just ran, I was just doing the math in my head and I was like, what if it was a deal a year versus a deal a month? Like, those numbers still make sense.
Right. Like, even if you spent $1,200 and you generated 600 leads and you only closed one and you made 10 grand, that still makes sense. Like, totally. There's other problems there, right? But it still makes sense monetarily. But you just got to do better. Yeah. So that's kind of like, that's how, with Facebook, that's kind of how I look at it. But yeah, but if you're scaling, if you're adding agents or you're creating an expansion team, then it's a whole different ballgame. Then you have to look at, okay, can I spend $1,200? I have 13 agents, right? I'm gonna have to spend $100 a month on each of them, right? Then it becomes ROI.
Well, and here's the other thing that I think that's why you're asking that point. We tend to not realize the actual value of a transaction. We tend to, and I make the mistake all the time because I just talk about the $10,000, but we tend to underestimate the actual value of a transaction. First of all, you're getting a past client that if you're marketing to and staying in touch with should be a deal every 10 years, or every 7 years, either they're selling and transacting again, or they're referring you somebody, right? So think 7 years, they're going to buy, sell, they're going to refer you somebody. Like, there's that going on. But then also, I've seen it over and over again. Success begets success. And so we tend to just assume our sphere of influence is just going to do deals with us. All we got to do is do that obligatory Facebook post. Hey guys, I'm a real estate agent now. Just passed my course. So if you want to buy a house, come let me know, right? And I'd be happy to help you, right? But who in their right mind wants to use an agent that said, I just passed a course, I'm going to help you out, right? And trust with my biggest investment. But I promise you, your sphere is watching you. Your sphere is seeing what's going on. They don't necessarily want to be your test dummy unless it's like your mom or your, but they're going to see what's going on. And when they see that you're actually succeeding as an agent, they're going to be willing and want to jump out and have success. And so I saw that over and over again. I did 15 sphere deals my first year in real estate in Denver. It was also my first year living in Denver. Right. But all I did was, like, I joined a local church, made some relationships there. And then none of these people really knew me. They sort of knew I was a brand new agent, but I just was faithful to making posts on social media about, hey, just help this person, just show this property. And I'm telling you, the success begets success. So that deal that I did with Facebook, even if it's just one deal, it brought other people to me because of the confidence it built. It also built my confidence to be able to handle that next one better. And so we just tend to underestimate the real value when you get a closing beyond just the ROI. Yeah.
So let's talk about, everyone wants to know your system for following up, right? So we have like, probably 10 minutes left. You probably have different systems or different cadences of follow-up for different sources, right? So for Facebook, Zillow, Google, they probably look different, right? So can you kind of just go through that?
Yeah, for sure. So the first thing I'll say with a portal type lead is the initial contact matters more than anything else. And you need to be first. because even if the lead wasn't shared with other agents, which most likely it is, if you're realtor.com or some of these other things, if they're that far in the process, they're that far in the process with other agents too, right? So you need to call them right away. When I mean right away, I mean 5 minutes is a great number to call them.
You need to call them before they even request to see the property.
Yes. You like literally we are trying to get to them within 90 seconds, like of me getting that ding. Like I'm calling them right then, right?
Sometimes that's too. Now, yeah, but here's the thing. There's been instances like I had when I was running my teams, I had all the systems known to man, right? I had like Agent Legend with the automated text. I had Conversion Monster, I had AI, like I had all this stuff. And there were instances where I was not first and I was so pissed off. I'm like, who is faster than me? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Because by the way, if they're already contacted, they'll be like, somebody already contacted me, click. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah. How do you get fast if you have like a couple hundred of them coming in a month?
Well, so this is going to be a little bit different than what most people actually think. But what I found to be the thing that tends to make us slow with portal leads is actually the scripting that we use. So a lot of times as an agent, when we call a portal lead, we're tempted to say, hey, I see you inquired on 123 Main Street. Do you have any questions I can answer for you? Here's the problem. It's probably not your listing, and you probably don't know the answers to those questions. So. Right. So you're going to call them. They're going to ask you questions you don't know the answer to. You're going to feel dumb because you don't know the answers to the questions they're asking. And that's going to make you just this much more hesitant to call that lead the moment it comes in when you're driving or out to dinner or somewhere where you can't get the questions right away, which is going to cause you to delay. So you need to get really good about when I call that lead, I just say, saw you inquired on 123 Main Street. When would you like to take a look at it? With portal leads, we book the appointment, then qualify the appointment.
That's a good point. Yeah, because we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything about this property, but I'm out to dinner. I now have to look on my MLS through my phone and blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But you're setting yourself up for asking if they need any info or questions. You're setting yourself up. But that's good. So so you set the appointment. Great. Tuesday at 4:00. Awesome. Then how do you set a consultation after that?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working backwards from there, right? We already got something booked. So now I'm going to say, first of all, did you see any other properties that you had interest in? Because with a portal lead, they're going to treat you like a door opener. If you meet them there and do nothing else, you're going to open the door. If they want to write an offer, they'll let you know. If they don't, they're going to move on. So
you'll never see them again.
Yeah, you need to get them understanding you can help them with more than just that property. So the first question I'm going to say is, do you have any other properties you want to take a look at? If I can, I'm going to book multiple showings. So they're seeing that I'm not just one property, I'm multiple properties. If they don't, then I'm going to say, what do you like about this property? Like what stands out to you about this property? I'm going backwards to get their criteria. And then I'm going to say something along the lines of, okay, well, I might know some other properties that match that. Would you be open to taking a look at those too? If we're going to be out and about. And then typically I'll just work backwards from there to go, so here's actually what I think is going to work best. Why don't we meet at the Starbucks around the corner from, that property we're going to see. That way we can just get a quick game plan. I like to use that phrase, game plan. Let's get a quick game plan for what we're looking at, make sure all your questions are answered. Then we'll go out and look at any properties that are relevant to you. So I try to just work backwards and go, we've already booked the showing. Now let's try to book the consultation right before the showing so we can do both at the same time.
Yeah, first of all, that's good because, a lot of agents are hesitant to do the consult because they think that the buyer's just going to not want to do it. Right. But if you present it in that sort of way, let's meet at the Starbucks and figure out our plan of attack or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And I think we have to give to get a little and vice versa. Right. So we want to get a consultation. And so we feel like we'll give some showings, but in return, we want them to give us a consultation, and they want us to give them showings. So in return, they need to give us a consultation, right? And so it's that give and take there. But I think I get the question a lot, well, I want to make sure they're pre-approved and I want to make sure they're all this and all that, right? And I think that's good to ask that question and to push on that. But I also think there's a little bit of give to get something, right? Like you just put up a wall and then very few people will come over, or you can say, well, I'll meet you in the middle. I'll go this far, but then I need you to come here, right? And so, and at bare minimum, if they don't want to meet you at Starbucks, then in the environment we're in today, who couldn't do a 15-minute Zoom call with you the day before? Because your process, right? Like, well then, okay, so we'll still set up the showings, but can we just hop on a quick 15-minute Zoom call? Just my policy to make sure we touch base and we're on the same page before we meet in person. Like,
yeah.
So,
And also, I personally, and this is just me, right? Like if I ask if they've been pre-approved and they say not yet, but they're working on it, right? I will meet them and I will show them, 3 homes, right? Maybe 3 properties, just so I can like get the relationship going, right? If they have been pre-approved and they tell me that, I'll show them more, but I'm not going to say no, because once you get face to face, you've gotten the ball rolling.
Yeah. I mean, like getting
pre-approved. What's an hour out of your day, honestly?
Getting pre-approved is not fun. Like it's not fun to go dig into your tax documents and send that crap over and let someone see your credit score and all this stuff. It's not fun. Like I need a reason to do it, right? I need to like, well, fine, I'll do that if it means I get something over here, right? Don't just do it and then tell me once you do that, then you get to see what you get, right? Like it's not like secret behind door number 2 or whatever. No. The other side of that I'll just briefly mention is for Facebook leads. We operate those a little bit differently when we're talking about calling those. So I still think it's valuable to get to those right away because real estate is top of mind. But what the approach I'm going to take is very like high level. Again, I'm not going to say, I see you liked this house. When would you like to see it? I'm just going to say, hey, I saw you were looking at some properties I posted online. And I'm just going to say, you have any questions about anything? So I'm actually asking the question I told you not to ask on the portal leads, but that's okay because they're going to say just browsing. You're going to affirm that. You're going to say, okay, wonderful. Like, and basically you're just going to get into that. Have you ever thought about buying a house? Like, again, you're painting that picture of what's possible. Like, have you ever thought about purchasing a home and owning your own home and what that could look like, right? So I'm painting that vision. So that's what that looks like. But to wrap it up with both, the thing that's similar about both is the number of touches I do and what the long-term follow-up looks like. So we do 14 touches in the first week. And those are a mixture of call, email, text. We're going to do 14 touches in the first week, right? And then if we don't get a hold of them, we're going to keep doing those touches for the next month, but a little bit less frequent, right? So the idea is I'm not going to give up after 1 or 2 calls. I'm going to keep calling, keep touching until I get a hold of them or they tell me to stop. Like until they tell me to stop or until we start talking about what we want to talk. So don't give up. Don't assume the FU and just stop calling, right? But the long-term follow-up is simple. Curate a search and then touch base with them every week or 2, adding various doors of value, just checking in, saying, how can I help? Do you want me to adjust your search? Do you want to go see something in person? How about this property that I saw? What do you think about this one? Do you want to get connected to a lender? Is this still your timeline? Do you want me to stop asking you questions? Right? So that's what you're doing. You're just rotating through those things. Like people get in their head about long-term follow-up. It's just every 2 weeks minimum, check in and see if there's some form of value you can add to them.
Yeah, right? No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So somebody was asking, is there a tutorial to show how to do a Facebook ad? Yeah, if you just go to YouTube and Google it, YouTube it. There's millions of videos on how to do one. Or, we use a system that we can create Facebook ads through, and some CRMs, have that capability. So you don't have to go into Ads Manager. It makes it much simpler. Going into Facebook Ads Manager can be very daunting. So you might have a CRM that gives you that marketing tool as well to make it simpler for you. But yeah, so did we cover portal, Facebook? Did we cover Google? We covered all 3 with a follow-up?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like the number of touches in the first week is very, very similar. The long-term follow-up is the same for all of them. It's you have them set up on a curated search and you're adding value every week or 2 until they tell you to stop. Right. And that's what long-term follow-up looks like with, I think, any lead or any client is you're not going to follow up enough, or again, you're going to reach out 3 weeks in a row. They're not going to say anything and you're just going to stop because you're just assuming they're mad at you. You don't stop until they tell you to stop, and you're not salesy. You're not trying to pitch them on something. You're adding value. Literally, how can I help you right now? Right. And that might be suggesting a home that they didn't suggest to you. It might be offering to edit their search, or, hey, I'll be out and about this weekend if you want to go take a look at some properties. Right. I'm actually hosting hosting an open house this weekend that's pretty similar to what you told me. Let me know if you want to swing by, right? Like a lot of times buyers think they're inconveniencing you. So you have to let them know they're not. So a lot of times we'll use scripts around, well, I'm hosting an open house. I'll be there. Let me know if you want to stop by. Or I'm going to be out and about showing properties anyways. Let me know if you want me to swing by something for you, right?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Well, okay, awesome. So, Anthony, Anthony just has one final question. What's a good, follow-up for, what would you run on Facebook as a listing to attract listings, and how would you do that?
Yeah. So I think, the two ways that you can attract listings with Facebook ads. One, attract second or third time home buyers. So that's not really answering your question, but just think, if I run ads to first time home buyers, I'm not going to get listings. But if I run ads to neighborhoods or areas or price points that I know are probably not first time home buyers, then they'll probably have a home to sell. So a lot of our listings come from, oh, and I also have a home to sell. And those are the easiest listings in the world because they just want you to find a great property. The listing is the necessary evil. They'll just do whatever you say on the listing, right? So those are very easy listings. But if you want to go outside of that, no, how can I actually run an ad? I would say mimic what has worked to get listings for a long, long time. Mimic the mailer, the farming mailer, right? So all of us have probably gotten a farming mailer. The main idea of a farming mailer is I'm touching a certain area. I'm presenting a unique value proposition more than just I can sell your house. It's here's something I can do for you that other people can't. Maybe you're a cheap listing. Maybe you have a robust program. Maybe you buy it after however many days, maybe whatever, right? But you have a unique value proposition. And then you're going to run an ad to that. And so pretty simply target an area, run a unique value proposition and run your ads that way. And so we've done it like that. The ads are a little bit more expensive. The leads are a little bit more expensive, but you can get some pretty specific listing ads. And then also you've brought this up before too, Nick, but your targeting interests matter as well, right? So make sure you're choosing targeting interests that only homeowners would relate to. Like they have interest in homeowners associations. They are interested in a HELOC, something like that.
Right. They're interested like home equity line of credit, for sale by owner, anything that relates to someone who may be thinking about selling their home for sure. All right. Awesome. Well, listen, Tyler, we're out of time and this has been a lot of great information. Listen, what it comes down to is, a lot of things. Geez, I was trying to sum it up in like 3 seconds, but I'm not that smart. Follow up quickly and follow up often and always come from a place of customer service and provide value. Those are really 3 important things to really think about in terms of converting.
Yep. Yeah. And I think like with internet leads, if we're going to fail in something, it's going to be, we didn't say the right thing up front. We didn't say it enough times. And we got in our head about the ones that weren't converting. And we took our eyes down. We stopped following those processes and missed the 1 or the 2% that actually converted, right? So say the right things, say them enough times, and keep your mind right. Keep it top of mind. Focus on the percentage that's working, right? Love
it, dude. Well, listen, thanks for being here. Everybody, Tyler Shields from Colorado. You can find him on Facebook. There's only one Tyler Shields. Cool last name. And we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for jumping on Lab Coat Agents. Have an awesome day.